On May 12th, 2017, I created this YouTube channel. I still remember seeing the dashboard say 0 views, 0 subscribers, and feeling intimidated by how much work was ahead of me. Oh my goodness. Well, here we are, exactly 7 years later, and I'm proud to say that I have remained hard at work ever since. There have been numerous ups and downs, numerically and emotionally, over that time, but overall, the experience has been cooler and more meaningful than I would have ever thought possible. I need to thank the audience for that, especially anyone who has been around since those early days. 7 years is a long time to stick around supporting a YouTube channel, so please understand that I do not take it for granted. While I'm at it, I also want to thank my mom. This channel's anniversary has fallen on Mother's Day this year for the first time, and maybe that's fitting because she has been a constant source of support for me and this channel, helping me out in more ways than I could ever express right here. It has been a journey, and she knows that better than anyone else. So before I move on, I want to make sure that I properly express how thankful I am for everybody that has helped turn this blank YouTube channel into something that I feel is worth celebrating. So putting out these videos every week has been a total roller coaster. Some weeks I'm able to find a great topic. I put together a timeline about the company filled with inspirational elements, interesting facts, and answers to questions that I and probably a lot of the viewers had about them. I then fit all the best and most relevant parts into an outline with evidence that supports the main idea behind the video, then that becomes a script that flows nicely as a narrative with maybe a few little jokes or personal remarks thrown in there. From there, I try to edit everything together dynamically with engaging visuals that complement the story, and finally, I put it out there to all the viewers on YouTube who ideally care about the video. You know, you find some sort of value in it, whether it be educational, entertainment, personal connection. You're out there sharing your thoughts in the comments with cool discussions going on, and it's exciting. When everything comes together like that, making these videos is my favorite thing to do in the world. Over the past year, I would say 2 of the prime examples of this experience would be my videos about Segway and Groupon. Both of those turned out to be amazing topics that people cared about, and I feel I was able to cover them pretty well. When that's the case, it is the most rewarding experience, and I feel like I want to continue doing it forever. However, some weeks, the topic is just not there. Not every company has a bunch of interesting facts and motivating elements. Often, I struggle to find the right angle to approach it, and the outline and the script end up feeling very basic or not as meaningful. Overall, the video just feels forced. It ends up being something that I'm not particularly proud of. And then I nervously release it to the world and I'm disappointed to see that most people just aren't interested. Maybe it's the demographics not matching up or just people failing to find much value in it. I honestly can't blame them. You have a lot of options out there as far as what to watch and how to spend your free time, and the very fact that so many people choose to spend that time on my channel each week continues to be mind-blowing. A couple of the main examples of this being the case over the past year would be my videos about Victoria's Secret and Instagram. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure other people can make something amazing out of these topics, but as far as my own style and personality and abilities, I just couldn't get them to come together right. These are the most aggravating experiences, and it takes a lot of willpower to restart the process for the next week all over again, especially when all of this happens a few times in a row. It is so demotivating. Well, unfortunately, after covering 372 topics on this channel already, it is becoming harder and harder to find ones that work really well. Obviously, most of the examples fall somewhere between Victoria's Secret and Groupon. Those are the extreme examples, but I have to say, it sure seems like most of the companies I try to cover anymore end up falling somewhere closer to the Victoria's Secret end of the spectrum, and I think the numbers reflect that. Year 7 was my lowest viewed year on the channel since year 1, and I have never had a year where I gained fewer subscribers. Practically all of my lowest viewed videos right now have been released in year 7, most of them within the past few months. And I don't want to blame everything on the topics. There could be a million reasons behind these declining numbers. A lot can change over 7 years, but finding good topics has easily been my own personal biggest struggle. This is turning out to be quite a celebration, right? I don't mean to be a downer here, and I don't want all of this to come off as complaining and excuses, but I do want to be transparent to everybody, and if anything, all of this exposes how amazing it is that all of this has been able to continue for 372 videos. Doing this every week for 7 years is already way longer than I would have ever imagined. What I'm getting at is a schedule of weekly videos is starting to become a drag. As I said, doing this is my favorite thing in the world when everything comes together nicely, but you see what I've been dealing with here. So here's what I'm thinking moving forward, and please tell me what you think about it, because I do want to include the audience here and make this a group discussion. My best performing videos lately, by far, have been the ones about company declines. See, early on in the channel, those were pretty much the only ones that would get much attention, so I've always been careful not to rely on them too much. I felt like people would only watch those and ignore everything else if I released them too often, so I've tried to stick to a loose schedule of about one a month, if not fewer. Because I've been so stingy with them, I feel like that is still an area with a lot of great topics that I have yet to cover. So I'm thinking for right now, I'm going to continue with the weekly topics, with much more of them being about company declines, probably every 2 or 3 weeks. But after those topics start to become scarce, whenever that may be, I really question if weekly videos will continue to be a great idea, and I really do hate to say that. At that point, maybe I'll only make new ones when it makes sense to do it. You know, when there's big news about a bankruptcy or an emerging company, or whenever something sparks a cool idea. I just don't want to have to force it, you know? I want to do it when it comes naturally. Tell me if you think that sounds like a good plan, or if you have a different idea. But man, I still can't believe I'm sitting here making a video celebrating 7 years of this channel, and I want to make it clear that there are still many videos ahead of us, and I do not plan on stopping this anytime soon. Once again, you have all made this a meaningful 7 years for me, and helped build this channel into something wonderful, and that is not a word I use lightly. For the rest of the video, I made this post on the community tab, soliciting questions to potentially be answered in this video. It is the only time of the year where I talk about myself in the channel, so I think it's fitting to get a little more personal with a question and answer segment. So here are some of the top questions. Has a company ever reached out to you to make a video about them? Have you ever taken them up on the offer? I've had a few companies leave comments under my videos about them that seem to be grateful that I made it, but no major companies have ever requested that I make the video. And I feel like that would create a weird dynamic or conflict of interest, so I couldn't imagine that I would take them up on the offer anyway. The next question is a touchy one. I don't think you've ever covered an alcohol or tobacco business. I'm not saying that you should. Is that by choice or just a coincidence? Are there any types of businesses that you've decided you will never cover on your channel, such as tobacco, military suppliers, etc.? So I have talked about alcohol and tobacco companies briefly when they were relevant in a different video, but that's true. They have never been the focus of a video. I would have to navigate the subjects carefully, but I think I would be able to make something that brings value without being too polarizing. The reason I haven't tried that yet is mainly just because I imagine there would be complications from YouTube. Their terms are way stricter than you probably realize. Even with a family-friendly channel like this, I have dealt with a fair amount of frustration over it. My video about United Airlines is demonetized because I show some stills of a guy who got beat up while being dragged off a plane. My video about Red Robin was demonetized for a little bit, I believe because I talked about a key figure from the company tragically using a gun to kill himself. I'm afraid to even repeat that here. Just a few months ago, my video about Hooters was demonetized and then remonetized a couple times due to sexualized content. I think there have been a couple other examples that I'm not recalling at the moment, but you can understand my hesitation when it comes to edgier topics like that. Moving on to the next question, what do your family and friends think about your channel if they know it exists? My parents are incredibly supportive, and I can confidently say that this channel would have never existed in the first place or continued on this long without them, and nobody else knows about it. Here's a good question. What was the catalyst moment that gave you the idea to start Company Man? The idea literally came from a bad experience inside of a Kmart. I used to think that place was so cool when I was younger, and then in 2017 when I was there, it was not good. It was slow and messy and outdated, and I figured exploring that would make a great video. I had seen a video on the channel Bright Sun Films about what happened to Circuit City, and I wanted to do something similar for Kmart, but with a little more of a financial approach. I had recently graduated from college where I studied accounting, so I thought I could bring something a little different to the table. So I made the video, created the channel so I could have a place to release that video, and that is how it all started. Moving on to the next question, do you choose a company first and decide how to tell its story based on what you learn, or do you start by looking for companies that fit specific themes? Most of the time it is the first one. I choose a company that I think looks promising for a video, learn a whole bunch of stuff about it by making a timeline, and usually a logical direction for it will start to become apparent. Here's another question, are there any companies you've started to research and then decided midway through not to do that company? Yes, like I hinted at before, I've spent hours trying to write a video and failed to figure out how to make it all come together. Either it feels uninteresting or lacks direction, or I don't think people will care about about it very much. Some of the topics that I've abandoned while trying to write them include Goodwill, Ross, Hanna-Barbera, the Weather Channel, and definitely a few others that I'm having trouble remembering. I think always, if I get the script completed, I'll follow through with the editing, because for me anyway, that's kind of the easier part, so I might as well. But I do have videos that I completed years ago that I'm hesitant to release because I don't feel great about how they turned out. The next question, do you have a team? If not, do you plan to employ one? If you do, would you be willing to introduce them to your general audience? You know, this is another thing about YouTube that I don't think a lot of people realize, but I would bet that most of the bigger channels you watch, especially the ones that produce scripted content, get help with a lot of the writing and probably most of the editing. Even if it doesn't seem like it, I think you can almost assume that there are multiple people working behind the scenes on the bigger YouTube videos, and I can completely understand why. It makes perfect financial sense and is a great way to get more content out there, but for this channel, everything has always been me. I write the scripts, do the editing, it's my voice you hear, obviously. I make the graphics, the thumbnails, I post it on YouTube, I respond to the comments, I deal with the sponsors. It can be a lot of work. Despite the drop in views, I still believe in everything I've established with this channel. I'm talking about the format, the style, the length of the videos, the titles, and whatever else. So even though the frequency of the videos may change, I don't want any dramatic changes to the videos themselves. So that means I will continue to be the only person working on them for the foreseeable future, and if that ever changes for whatever reason, you will know about it. Alright, that was 7 questions for the 7th anniversary, which I realize left most of your questions unanswered. There's only so much I can do in this video, but if you have something else you'd like to ask or anything else you want to say to me, please feel free to do it in the comment section. You have my promise that I will read every single comment that is left under this video, every one of them, and reply to a ridiculous amount of them. For every anniversary, I spend days in that comment section, so why would this one be any different? 7 years is such a cool milestone. I feel very blessed to have such a great community around this channel. I think most of you have been here for years at this point. Let me know if that's the case for you. I love hearing about your experience with the channel and how it fits into your life. I promise you, there is plenty of great stuff ahead, and I hope you'll continue to stick around for it in year 8 and well beyond that. I feel like I should stay here saying thank you for another 1.7 million plus times, because that's what you all deserve, but for right now, I hope you'll accept one more that applies to everybody and comes from the heart when I say thank you for watching.